Good morning, all of you. Hello to all of you. It's a very nice Monday morning. Hope you all had amazing Sunday and weekend at home or in some function or family get together or whatever it is, right? Okay. It's always good to have quality good break on weekend so that when we start the week, we are fresh, energetic to start again in the same routine, right? Now, one thing I want to say, every Saturday we will do some activity mandatory. You like it or not, you have to do. This Saturday we missed out in the rush of completing the residential status. One answer we need to check that. I will do it today, end of the class. And right now, the smallest of activity is let us be aware of the self-talk what we do ourselves. See, say to yourself, I'm not a CA and CMA yet, but I'll do surely whatever it takes to achieve my goals. Today is Monday. Can we set a good intention ki, okay, apart from our class studies, first attempt is the best attempt and it's good to clear in the first attempt. And it's not कि बहुत intelligent नहीं हूँ मैम मेरे से तो नहीं होता. Anyone can do with 60 and 67%. I can do it in the first attempt. You all can also do. Only thing required for professional studies is consistency up to a limit which you all are. I should really appreciate it. None of you are missing the classes. Now, how do you build the consistency in your studies is set intention today that after the class, say we have completed residential status, then I will at least study half an hour. 4 problems हुए वहां stick on लगाओ. कल 5th problem से शुरू करो. So I want you to do simultaneous study at home. I'm saying about residential status. You're doing accounts, you're doing law. Make sure you have a planner also in the book which I have given you. Chapter's name is there, number of videos is there, concept class material, and next to it is the column for study material, RTP, MTP. So every tick should go on over there ki, okay, residential status, study material over, basic concepts. So for this, be very honest, practical, which is achievable target. You make that, okay, after going home, I'll daily study for 2 hours, but Wednesday there's wedding. So I'll make sure I'm studying 2.5 hours on a day before and a day after. Like this, when you form small habits, you will really get awesome result. And see, I have done it earlier, I'll do it now. It's not easy to crack foundation now with 4 papers and almost account single entry and company accounts and all being shifted to foundation. So it's not that small syllabus what you studied in 11 12. So if you could do it earlier, you can do it now. So let us make sure that we are using a very positive language with our own self, with others. I had so much of discussion. That's why please 5 minutes. Then we'll start the topic. Kal meri or 2 students I talked with and they were very sure they wanted to go for one group in January because the result came now and in the 2 months time. Okay, we'll do one group, another group. Coaching is not completed, then you cannot write the exam in 2 months, right? But my father is saying this is the last attempt, then some other schedule is there. Why don't you write? With due respect to parents, I'm also a mom first and then a ma'am. So many times they are your best well wishers, but they don't understand the technicality of the subject. क्या चल रहा है? What is your capacity? To say it is 3 subjects, but we all know income tax is only 100 marks. GST, same with FM and SM. So you take a decision for yourself. Please just pray for me, mom. I'll surely write this group. After writing this group, I'll take 10 days break. This is not for you all. First timers, you all have enough time and there's a lot of aggregate benefit. But I'm just saying this that so many times, if they are near ones, sit, explain them, justify yourself, do every effort to make things smooth in your zone. For me, my spouse, my son. So like this in your zone. Outside the zone, this habit will give you awesome result. Just smile. You need not explain to outsiders. Now, I don't know what's the English word for this, but Hindi we call it as धीट. वो जैसे धीट बन जाते हैं ना हम कि हमको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कि क्या आप क्या सोचते हो हमारे बारे में. So that should be the mindset. Dare anyone come and tell you Oh, you have taken CA, you have taken अरे बड़ा pass fail वाला game. Such a beautiful smile, no? The 10 minutes after that, if you meet anywhere, they'll not even remember what they've spoken to you. Sometimes someone is asking you, how are you? And if we answer, are they willing to listen? Actually, no. So don't bother. So this is today's exercise. This whole week, I'm here to help you out not only with DT, but also to bring a solid rock mindset for upcoming exams and your professional life also. I feel so good when I see my colleagues, my students, my friends doing amazingly well in this profession. Those who have cleared with me 2000, they are VPs of the company, they are in Dubai, they are in Mumbai, और इतना अच्छा कर रहे हैं. हैदराबाद में भी है, डिलॉयट में भी. So it is really a beautiful field. So there you are bogged down by your environment. Okay. So with this promise and a written somewhere, wherever you write in the daily activity page, write and keep that okay after going home, after taking 1 hour of म्यूजिक डांस जो आपको करना है करो इंस्टा चैट कीप अ टाइम फॉर दैट स्क्रॉलिंग नो प्रॉब्लम 30 minutes 20 minutes specific time and then I will do so I want everyone to set this intention and with this intention let us start the first head of income we are not taking the first head it's salary it's too good but first I want you all to be comfortable कि how do you learn every head of income so for that directly we are taking second head of income that is house property so far all clear yes ma'am my son is also little elder to you all तो मैं कभी ऐसे कुछ एक्स्ट्रा बोल दूं ना तो नॉट नेसेसरी कि सिर हिलाना है बिंदास आर्ग्यू करना है आई ऑल्सो मेक lot of improvements in my saying in my thinking in my doing by taking inputs from my son also so that's why I'm saying कि अच्छे से पढ़ो और enjoy करके करो burden नहीं लेना है कि अरे इतना सारा है ठीक है इतना सारा you have done in the foundation no you'll surely do it now okay we have completed tax rates and we have completed residential status. Your first exam is going to be on these two topics. Schedule I'll discuss with sir and sir will update you about the timings and other details of exam. So I think, what's the last date of your BCom exam? Can someone tell me? Yeah, anyone, whoever is writing, all the students are equal. Today is 25th. What's the last date? 29th. 29th, right? ठीक है नेक्स्ट वीक से शुरू करेंगे एग्जाम शेड्यूल क्वालिटी गुड पेपर ऑफ 1 hour थ्योरी क्वेश्चन आंसर्स एमसीक्यूज एवरीथिंग विल बी देयर ठीक है चलो नाउ व्हेन वी आर स्टार्टिंग विथ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी नॉक नॉक डोरबेल योर डोरबेल इन दिस प्रोफेशन वाज सीए फाउंडेशन सीएमए फाउंडेशन आ जाओ you've taken the entry in the profession. Same way in house property, there's a chargeability section which says that, oh, you are owner of a property and he's a tenant, he's paying you rent. Is there owner? Is there an owner? Is there a tenant? Is there a property? Come inside. Section 22. Rental income is what we are going to compute in this head is the most simplest head mandatory question which is asked in exam and very scoring. Yeah, one thing is this is usually asked in choice. Compulsory question they ask business head, other source deduction, business head, capital deduction, salary deduction, ऐसे combinations हैं. फम्बुस का जमाना है खाना पीना शॉपिंग तो एग्जाम भी ऐसा ही है ठीक है देख लेंगे हाँ तो write this in the same way in house property, specific question is asked for 6 marks, 7 marks. Compute the income from house property. But what did I say? There should be owner, there should be tenant, and there should be property. Now you need to keep patience. Whenever I start with heads of income, there are some terms, there are some formats. So today, 45 minutes, 1 hour, it's like listening, writing, listening. We may not solve any question. Tomorrow, we will solve quality good 6, 7, 8 questions. Because by that time, you will get the grip. ये हर head में होगा. Capital gain first class, only one question. Second class again 5 to 6 questions. Okay. So When I'm saying there should be owner, there should be a tenant, and there should be property, ma'am, what do you mean by property? It's land and building appurtenant to land, not vacant plot. I have a vacant plot in the outskirts of Hyderabad city, say Uppal, and I have given it to Patanjali Yogpeeth for their camp, yoga camp. So it's an open plot. I have given it out on rent. That rental income will be taxable in the fifth head. What's the name of fifth head? Can anyone say? 5 head के नाम बताए थे ना आपको. What's the first head say? Income from salary, employer-employee relationship. Second, what we are doing now, income from house property. Third, if you are doing business or profession. Fourth, these are the names of your chapter, by the way, so don't worry. आगे तक याद. Fourth is if you sell any capital asset, jewelry and property and shares. And fifth is सबसे छोटा, beautiful, but it absorbs everything. Residuary head, it's called income from other source. So if I'm giving an open plot on rent to the Patanjali Yoga Center for their yoga camp, it's going to be taxable in other source. Ma'am, it's rental income. Why not here? It's an open plot. So what is required? Property. It could be any property. It could be your commercial property which you have given on rent to offices, your godowns, your depots, कुछ भी हो सकता है, or house property. Any property which you have given on rent. Sometimes it's not even the commercial property, it's not even house property. It's like my garage. I am having a bungalow. This is very common around us. I'm having a bungalow. I'm staying in the bungalow. In my bungalow, one extra space is there, like garage and all. So in that, I have made a building, and that small building, I have given it on rent, say, कोई बुटीक को दे दिया, कोई गैरेज को दे दिया, कोई शोरूम को दे दिया. You go to Banjara's Jubilees, behind there's a bungalow, and in front of the bungalow, small space, you see a boutique, a gift souvenir shop, like that. Very well, all that is taxable in income from house property. What should be their owner? Tenant. Who tenant कौन है? Who is paying the rent? Who is using the property on rent basis? And then there is property. It could be commercial property, it could be warehouse, it could be go down, it could be depot, it could be house property. One more very simple example is, so many times in the apartments, you have flats, and say every flat has got 2 parking. Okay. But say my neighbor, he has got 1 car and I have 3 car. मेरे पास नहीं है 3 car, एक ही car है, just example. So 3 cars I am having. Can I take not his flat on rent, but his parking space on rent? Can I pay him every month that I'll park my 3rd car in your parking lot and I'll pay you rent for that? Yes. Where it will be taxable? House property. Because that parking lot is attached to the house property. Now, after talking so much, this is one of the earlier batch students' example. Ma'am, swimming pools. There are private pools in hotels and clubs which are given on rent for competition. और say slot basis practice के लिए भी मिलते हैं ना pools. Nearby to my house is Osmania University, is one of the biggest pool. So they give it out on rent for private practices of some coachings who are giving swimming coaching for national level and all. ठीक है? So ma'am, how is it going to be taxable in house property? Swimming pool की तो छत ही नहीं है, building ही नहीं है. Still, swimming pool is a structure, it's a building, and very well, when anything property given on rent, it's taxable in house property. Any doubt in my explanation, then ask. If not, then sharing the material and going to the notebook. चलें साथ में? Yeah. Write down in your notebook, please. We are starting with income from house property. Section 22 is the chargeability section. I'll make you learn all the chargeability section for MCQ. There should be owner, there should be tenant, and there should be house property. How I want all of you to write this, huh? कितने भी ब्यूटीफुल नोट्स फ्लो चार्ट्स दीप्ति मैम ने दे दिए हैं, आपको ये मैंडेटरी लिखना है. जब तक नहीं लिखेंगे तब तक सिंक नहीं होगा, स्पीड नहीं आएगी. आ जाओ. At least we can do till GAV. It's very interesting and simple head of income. Nothing technical. Owner, tenant, house property. House property can be actually house, or it can be commercial properties. You know, in malls we have properties, or we have godowns, or we have depots, or we have garages and parking lots and all. Right? Always the rental income. Yes, a word लिख दो. Always rental income will be taxable in hands of owner. है ना? Always the rental income will be taxable in owner. I have given this example in diversion and application of income earlier. Again, I want to talk about it. Okay. Right. 1 second. 1 second. So why always the rental income should be taxable in the hands of the owner? Suppose I am the owner of the house and say Ram is my son. So I tell to my tenant, give all the rental income to my son. He's staying in other city and he will use it for his education and all the purposes. Okay, right. In that case, who is actually receiving the rent? Ram. Who is actually using the rent? Ram. But who is the owner of the property? Dipti Chheda. So it will be always taxable in the hands of owner. Now, in your syllabus, for solving the problems, there are 3 kinds of house property. There are 3 kinds of the house property. Okay. First house property is called as LOP. Let out property, in bracket write down, given on rent. Let out property is a property which you have actually given on rent, right? Next is self-occupied property, and I also want to introduce here the term called as unoccupied property. Self-occupied property and unoccupied property. Okay. Self-occupied property and unoccupied property. Now, what is this? I want to explain. Listen, very important. ये एग्जाम में अगर हाउस प्रॉपर्टी है तो सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड होना है, तो थोड़ा ध्यान से सुनो. Self-occupied property, the name itself says self-occupied. I am the owner of this house and I am staying in this house. How can I pay rent to myself? Ma'am, notional income. That's the funda we study in accounts, no? We pay rent to the notional, rent to proprietor and all. So self-occupied property is the property where you stay yourself, or one more term I have added, very beautiful, logical, unoccupied property. I have only one house in Hyderabad. I was staying there earlier. Now, because my son is studying in Bangalore, I have also moved at Bangalore, staying in some rented apartment there. He's doing his education and I can take online classes from anywhere. So we are in Bangalore. So Hyderabad house, I have not given it on rent to anyone. It's unoccupied. It's vacant. It's like deemed self-occupied. We stay in Bangalore for 4 months. Whenever he has 2 months vacation, फिर Hyderabad आते हैं, फिर जाते हैं, फिर आते हैं, like that. So Hyderabad house is self-occupied, or it's called as deemed self-occupied when it is unoccupied. It's not occupied by me. It's unoccupied because I am staying somewhere else. But then I didn't give it on rent. I will twist it. When I moved with my son to Bangalore, I said one property is only there, but I have to pay rent over there. We are all very calculative, banyas, you know. So how we do is, वहाँ भी rent देना पड़ रहा. चलो अच्छे लोग हैं, we'll give them for rent for 1 year. Someone is taking coaching in IIT nearby to my house, so they wanted it for 6 months. The moment I give it on rent for 1 month also, forget about rent for 6 months, 1 month. I have given my unoccupied house on rent for weddings. Wedding season, people need more space for guests to accommodate. तो मेरा house है, उसमें 2-3 floors हैं. I've given it out on rent, my full bungalow for wedding. It will become let out property. Once again, take it with lot of clarity. Self-occupied property is property where you stay yourself, owner, with spouse, family, children, parents, whatever, or it is unoccupied. Now, as per Income Tax Act, you can have only 2 self-occupied property. Ma'am, meri marzi, huh? Like we know film actors, cricketers, they have so many houses. For example, let us take example of Govinda. He's having one house in Mumbai to stay, another in Lonavala, another maybe in Manali. So like this, actors, cricketers, celebrities, they can have 3-4 bungalows, one in Goa. Whenever they wish, they'll go. Otherwise, it will be whatever. So can people logically have 2-3 bungalows? Yes, bungalows ही मैं बोल रही हूँ, flat भी होते हैं. So now they say Income Tax Act said one house is enough for you to stay. At the most 2 self-occupied property, right, in India, abroad. Acha, house property mein property also includes property abroad. Huh? I may have a house in London which is gifted to me by will by my aunt to me. And now that London house se rental income is coming in India. So जैसे भी आ रहा है dollars, pounds, convert and tax it in same house property. So anytime you can have how many self-occupied property? 2. But I am having 4 self-occupied property. Remaining 2 will be treated as DLOP, deemed let out property. And this is the only head in income tax where we pay tax on notional income. हाँ, आप आगे आगे नहीं पढ़ना है. Many students I know, they are very inquisitive, and frankly speaking, I'm myself like that. When I watch YouTube with my son or husband beside, no, they'll watch with 1 speed. I'll always watch with 1.25. पर आज नहीं जाना. आज थोड़ा patience से concept समझो, so that application you don't stop. Once again, what are the 3 kind of the properties? Let out, which is actually given on rent. Self-occupied or unoccupied, where you stay, or which is vacant. How many SOPs you can have? 2. If I have more than 2 SOPs by my choice, I can take the third house as DLOP. This is only the combination problems which are asked too much, 80% in exam, और ऐसे 3-4 problem हम करेंगे आज. तो deemed let out property, ma'am, but it's not let out. All my 4 houses are vacant. Sometimes I stay in Goa, sometimes Lonavala, Manali, Hyderabad, Mumbai, meri marzi. So any 2 houses you treat as SOP. Remaining 3 houses will be treated as deemed let out, and you will have to pay rental income and tax on notional income. Notional income is the income which you have not earned, but still you have to pay tax. है ना? ये देखो. Let out property, self-occupied or unoccupied property, and the third one, DLOP. This is like forcibly came. Deemed let out property. More than 2 SOPs will be treated as DLOP. Now my stop here. Ask your doubts. Any confusion in whatever I have explained until now, please ask. But little louder. Huh? No doubts. Chalo, let us now go to our material and read the things from the pieces. Residential status 1 homework is there, but I wanted to start afresh with this. Agricultural income is also a part of your syllabus for exam. Ma'am, आपने ये नहीं बोला था, वो नहीं बोला था. मुझे जितने रीजन देना है देना. Dare you give any reason in the final exam. That strong mindset you should have. मुझे कोई रीजन नहीं देना है फाइनल एग्जाम के लिए. सैलरी वी कैन स्किप एंड वी कैन स्टार्ट विद हाउस. आई कैन लिटरली मतलब प्रेडिक्ट कि ये हेड से क्या क्या आता है. इतना इजी है. All the creativity in exam is in capital gain and business head. Salary as well as house property are pretty simple. Chalo. Do lot of scribbling in your material also, please. Yeah. Chargeability section 22. Oh, yeah. Underline it for MCQ. Owner tenant property. Annual value of the property arising. Annual value matlab 12 months rent from April 24 to March 25. Land building of the SSC is chargeable to tax under that income from house property. Property must consist of land, building appurtenant thereto. Building includes not only residential building, but also factory, office, shops, godowns, commercial places, and land appurtenant. Land ko lag ke, if you have garden, parking lot, ये सब garage, and you give it out on rent to a boutique, to a jewelry showroom, very well taxable. Income from letting out of the property, where it will be taxable? Other source. Property should not necessarily have roof. Swimming pool, stadium are also treated as properties. Income from house property and land thereto is taxable under this head in the hands of the owner. किसके हाथ में taxable होगा? Owner. Owner is SSE, must be the owner of the property, right? Now there are three categories of property. Let out, LOP, it's a property which is given on rent. Self-occupied, where the owner uses for his own residence, or it is unoccupied because of his business employment at other place. For such SOP, annual value will be nil. What is annual value? Gross annual value. मतलब जो rental income होगी of self-occupied property is nil. I'm staying in my own property. How can I pay rent to myself? है ना? Right. And annual value is available only up to underline this word, two self-occupied property. Yeah. The benefit is applicable for individual and HUF occupying two self-occupied property. Okay. Vacant or unoccupied property I have cleared already. Oh, this is a third point. Point miss ho gaya. 1 second. So when owner has one residential house which cannot be occupied by him by reason of his employment business carried on, he must reside at other place. वही जो आपको सब अभी बताया. Such house is not actually let out. No other benefit is derived. Maximum how many properties you can treat as self-occupied property? Yeah, 2. More than 2 not allowed. Okay. Right. Next, deemed let out property, where SSE has more than 2 property as self-occupied, the annual value of 2 houses will be taken as nil. All the other properties will be treated as deemed let out and taxed notionally. है ना? दो से ज्यादा properties हैं तो it will be treated as deemed let out and it will be taxed notionally. Okay. Now, after this is the format which definitely I will teach you. But before that, now listen. Whenever I say compute house property, you have to go in a format. Suppose, say you're doing income accounts karte ho na. If I say write journal entries, how do you do? Particulars and debit and credit, and you start writing party debit to sales, right? If I say make the final accounts, immediately trading P&L, some ledgers, data spreaders. Like that, for computing house property, there's a format we have to follow. So in that format, one bit I want to explain. Let it take 30 minutes. जितना time लगे. आपको जब doubt है आप बीच में रुका. It's all base building we are doing. There's one theory question asked one or twice. End में करेंगे. अभी हम क्या कर रहे हैं? To compute the income. How much is my rental income and how much income I should pay? The first baby step is to derive GAV. What's the full form of GAV? Gross annual value. Now listen carefully. Ma'am, gross annual value is 12 months rent. What as a tenant you are paying? But so many times it happens. Department is also very smart. Department knows that suppose this area, this floor, this classroom, say the rental is 1 lakh per month, but you are paying me only 60,000. 40,000 you are giving under the table, black money. So you are paying me 60 ka check or bank transfer. I am showing 60 as my income. 40,000 we are not paying tax. So government is saying no, will not derive rental income so easily. We want to compare it with other market values. You know, we call it as arm's length value, fair value. तो उनसे compare करो. Okay, Dipti ma'am is getting 60,000 rent for this property. Exactly same property, next building, same floor. That is also commercial. How much is it fetching? Of course, the area-wise rent differs. Next time, then when you read the paper, Times के paper में I think Friday, they give the column that every area the rentals are different. Secondly, the rentals will differ. Ki this is a new property, that's a 20 years old property, and all. There are many things. But can we get an average? If average rent nearby to me, left and right, everywhere is 1 lakh, how am I getting only 60,000? So now, first is what should be the rental income that we have to decide, right? Okay. There are some varieties in this also. So one by one we will take up here. Okay. First for rental income. Yeah. I want all of you. These are all booster notes. Huh? Concept of gross annual value. Concept of gross annual value GAV. To derive concept of gross annual value GAV. To derive rental income taxable of 12 months. Why we are juggling so much and we are going to juggle coming half an hour? To derive your GAV correctly. Gross annual value. Right? For that, we will use many things. First term I want all of you to write is fair rent. You know what is fair rent? Arm's length rental income around. Listen and write if you're not following my writing, because I know I'm not writing very good because I'm putting lot of energy in the self explanation. एक 10 मिनट में अभी एक प्रॉब्लम करेंगे तो क्लियर हो जाएगा. Fair rent, arm's length, rental income around same kind of the property. You know what? Why do we call it arm's length? Where it's not biased. Suppose if I have given this classroom to my younger sister, I'll say, "Arey jo dena hai de, 20,000 dena hai de de." Maybe 1 lakh is the rent, but then she's my sister. It's not arm's length. Arm's length where the buyer and seller are not related and all that. Huh? So fair rent of the property. Ma'am, कहाँ से पता चलेगा? सब मिल जाता है. You go to the municipal value, they will give municipal office. जाओगे आप, तो you will get the municipal value. This is the rental income as per municipal record. You go to municipal office that we have this house in Nalakunta, this area, ऐसे सब बोलो उनको, so they'll give you. Okay, this area should fetch this, right? This comes sometimes in the exam, हमेशा नहीं रहता है. Standard rent. Like if costing is over, we all know budget is different, budget cost is different, and standard cost. Standard cost is idle cost. Okay, to make one unit, this much raw material should be used, this much labor, all that. Huh? So standard rent. What do you mean by standard rent? Standard rent is rental income. Rental income as per Rent Control Act. There's Rent Control Act applicable, and in every city, if you just click, you will get कि okay, as per the Rent Control Act, standard rent इतना तो होना ही चाहिए, इससे कम में कैसे होगा? And last one, actual rent. Actual rent is the actual rent. मैम अगर actual rent ही ले लेते तो ये झिकझिक की जरूरत ही नहीं है. But then in exam, they'll give you fair rent. They'll give you municipal value. Please don't think that municipal value is the value of the property. It's the rental value of the property for 12 months. Standard rent is the rent as per the Rent Control Act. And then we have the actual rent. Okay? Right? Clear? Now, very important. Students are confused in this, but you learn it एक ही बार में और आप 10 प्रॉब्लम प्रैक्टिस करो, कभी गलत नहीं होगा आपका जीएवी. Steps to compute GAV. Steps to compute GAV. Just because we are in explanation, I'm going to write fair rent as FR. If you also want, you can write now. Municipal values MV. Standard. Only deriving the rent is also asked in MCQ for 2 marks. Fair rent, municipal value, standard rent, and AR. Actual. Steps to compute GAV. Steps to compute GAV. Step number 1. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Fair rent. First you get all the 4 values which will be given in exam. कि fair arm's length rent कितना है ये property का for 12 months. Municipal value, how much it is. Standard rent. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Step 2. Step 1. Or standard rent, whichever is lower. Step 2. Or actual rent, whichever is higher. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. That or standard rent, whichever is lower. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. You know how to remember it? Finish writing? I'm waiting. How to remember for the exam is like high, low, high, tight. Fair rent, waves of the ocean. We call it tides or whatever. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is high. That or standard rent, whichever is low. That or actual rent, whichever is high. This is your GAV. Khatam. But ma'am, if any value is missing, suppose fair rent or municipal value, whichever is high. Standard rent is not given. Skip. Jump. Whatever you have got step 1 answer, that's only your step 2 answer. Now step 2 or actual rent, whichever is high. This will give you the gross annual value. And from this allowed is municipal tax. There are 5 steps. I'll go till 3 steps now. Pause, then take some questions. Because see, house property is very easy. But if your GAV goes wrong, na, everything goes wrong. पूरा प्रॉब्लम वहीं से शुरू हो रहा है ना. सपोज आप सेल ही गलत है तो जीपी गलत, एनपी गलत, capital, and then somehow also balance sheet will tally because everything is between debit and credit. So this is also like that. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher, that or standard rent, whichever is higher, that or actual rent. Okay? Right. Now, next I want all of you to write that from GAV, you have to deduct municipal tax. You know, whenever we are owner of the property, we are supposed to pay municipal taxes. So municipal taxes paid by owner, you have to deduct. Okay, ma'am, Dipti ma'am has got rental income 10,000 per month, 1,20,000. But against that, 9,000 I have paid municipal tax. Usually municipal taxes are paid once in a year. But I have paid the municipal tax. है ना? Right? So, ma'am, if sometimes municipal tax is paid by tenant, हमने बोल दिया, this property you have taken on rent, municipal tax you have to pay. We'll put that in the agreement also if required. Then, shall I deduct it? No, only if paid by owner. Okay? So, I want all of you to write an alert note. If paid by tenant, I want all of you to write like this. If paid by tenant, not allowed. If paid by owner, then only deduct it. If it is paid by tenant, not deduct. Second is, if due but paid, not allowed. If due, due but not paid. It's due but it's not paid. NA, not allowed. Ma'am, what do you mean by this? Sir, municipal tax is due. I am Dipti Chheda. I am the owner of this rental income. Municipal tax was due by March only. And I don't know, some of you, if you are listening to radios, March में तो इतनी ad आती है कि for the next financial year, pay the municipal tax in advance, you will get 25% off and all. Lot of awareness is created in the month of March. So actually my municipal tax is due. I have not paid now, but promise I'll pay it on 4th of April 2025. My municipal tax is due for 24-25. I didn't pay it this year. Promise I'll pay on 4th of April 25, and I have proof also. See, I have paid. 4 days late, gone. Municipal tax is allowed as deduction only if you pay. If it's due and you have not paid, and you have paid it in April 25, then please go and claim in 25-26. Don't come here. Simple logic. Municipal tax is allowed as deduction only on payment basis. Ma'am, but then next year I'll pay this saal ka pending also, and next year will both be allowed? Yes. It's allowed on payment basis. ठीक है? आ जाओ. And last one before we switch to question answers is from the GAV, once you deduct municipal tax, what you get, you call it as net annual value, NAV. What is NAV? 12 months rent GAV minus municipal taxes will give you NAV. Minus mandatory without fail 30% standard deduction mandatory. मैम 30 ये कितना आ रहा है 120 में से 9,000 क्विक कैलकुलेशन कितना आएगा 1,11,000 उसका 30% करो
77
कितना आ रहा है लाउडर 30% कितना आ रहा है करेक्ट है मेरा आंसर? How much is the property income? 120. How much municipal tax we have paid? You know, sometimes we do barter system, barter matlab 50-50. Okay, tenant, you pay 50%, I'll pay 50%. So can I deduct 50% of this? Yes. I'll get NAV. Less 30% standard deduction. Income from house property. Over and out. यहाँ तक क्लियर है? तो there's a beautiful concept of interest on loan which we will do later. I want all of you to open your material and let us solve some questions to derive GA. Anyone is having any doubts in the notes what you have written? Easy or not until now?
Easy, ma'am.
And I think some of you must have done it also earlier. अगर बीकॉम के छोटे छोटे कोई तो एग्जाम लिखे होंगे तो बहुत इजी है. चलो आ जाओ. I have taught you the types of properties, then I skip the format and directly I am here. Municipal taxes are allowed on payment basis, but interest on loan is allowed on, this is a dialogue. ये ना हमारे लिए प्रेयर है, गाना है, जो आप बोलो. चलो अभी ये करते हैं. For deriving GAV, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Step A or standard rent, whichever is lower. In our study material, they use the term like expected rent and all, but you will get full marks provided you write the step. Ma'am, I followed and I did. इन दोनों में ये है, उन दोनों में सीधा GAV लिखोगे तो marks नहीं मिलेंगे आपको. So fair rent and municipal value, whichever is higher. That or standard rent, whichever is lower. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. So fair value is the rent of similar property. Municipal value derived from local authority. Standard rent from Rent Control Act or actual rent का तो सवाल ही नहीं है. These pointers are very beautiful, but अभी नहीं करना. Municipal tax are allowed. I want all of you to underline this. Actually paid by owner. If municipal tax is paid on advance, it is deductible when due. See, मैम मैं तो ना 27 तक पूरा अभी पे कर देती हूँ, तो then deduct only this year's. But if you miss out, then deduct it when you pay. If paid by tenant, no deduction allowed. Yeah, it also includes sewerage tax. Huh? Many times in exam, ma'am, they gave 8% municipal tax and 2% sewerage tax. Should I take or not, ma'am? ऐसे पूछते हैं स्टूडेंट. तो सीवरेज टैक्स भी मैंने. These notes are made each and every line. कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई स्टूडेंट को बोल दिया उसने बना दिया. Years I have been teaching and wherever I feel students गिर जाते हैं मंडला के स्लाइड में, नहीं गिराना हमको कहीं किसी को, तो I put alert signs like this. So each and every note is written with lot of awareness and to help you study this second time on your own. Irrespective of GAV, if municipal taxes are calculated as per percentage value, take accordingly. Yeah, I told you, no? Sometimes they don't give that municipal values 8 lakhs and all. They give you percentage. So percentage kiska lenge? Rental income, municipal value. But this will be proved when I. Standard deduction is, acha ma'am, why they allowed 30% standard deduction in NAV? मैम एग्जाम में बोला तो नहीं था. Then also we should allow. Yeah. Why? Because when you get rental income, you also incur expense, no, as an owner. Repairing of the building, watchman salary, liftman, water charges, ground rent, ye wo. So forget about your actual expenses. They are saying you can deduct full expense maximum, that is 30%. So suppose your NAV is 100 rupees. Matlab you are earning after municipal tax. Suppose your rent was 120, 20 was municipal tax. आप 100 rupees कमा रहे हो ना, 30 rupees is your expenditure and 70. But ma'am, my actual expenditure is less. Or ma'am, my ground rent, watchman salary, liftman, insurance, repairs, annual maintenance, building में बहुत खर्चे लगते हैं. They are more or they are less. अपने पास रखो. How much standard deduction we should give in exam from NAV? 30%. Exactly in the required flow I am teaching. ये होना फिर वो होना फिर वो होना. अभी तो the cream part left out is interest on loan. Other students do mistake. आप नहीं करोगे, आपको सब मैं बता दूंगी. ऐसा है तो ऐसे करना है, ऐसे है तो ऐसे करना है. But I think so far, if it is clear, let us work out some question answers for GA. करें कुछ questions? आ जाओ. डाउट है कुछ पूछो. Then that sound in मैंने बोला एक साथ हम लोग अच्छे प्रॉब्लम्स करते तो आंसर शुड कम. यस मैम. चलो, all of you should open your material and problem number 2.
But we don't have materials. Marks.
Yeah.
We don't have our materials.
Sorry.
We don't have our materials. Sir is not here.
I told him to give you all the whole book. This is such a beautiful compiler. I don't want to have that चिट्ठास एक डिक्की में रहेगा, एक घर में रहेगा, एक ड्रॉर में रहेगा. ऐसा सब नहीं करना है ना. ठीक है, चलो. I'll cooperate for today and I'll talk with him in the break time. मैं बात करती हूँ सर से और अभी स्क्रीन से करते हैं. चलो, बिकॉज मैंने कितना सारा चीजें लिखी. अप एरो मार्क, डाउन एरो मार्क. आई वांटेड यू टू डू दैट मेकअप ना. ठीक है, चलो आ जाओ. Yeah, on the screen you can check with me. Let us compute income from house property for A. Fair rent is 120 and municipal value is 1 lakh. So what's the first step? Acha, you can do it in the column form like this. Huh? Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So 1 lakh or 120, whichever is higher. 120. Now, 120 or standard rent, 125. 120 or 125, whichever is lower. So 120. That or actual rent. Actual rent to sirf 1 lakh hai na? Whichever is higher. So 120 is your step to answer and actual rent is 1 lakh, whichever is higher. So what's the GAV? 1 lakh. Less, of course, I'll make you write in the next problem. So GAV is 120. And what's the municipal taxes? 15,000. Assumed paid by owner. If they say 50% paid by owner, so we'll deduct only 7,500. After municipal tax, what you get? NAV. In that 30%, you get income from household. Is it clear to all of you? I'm doing purposely the first problem oral so that you can learn with me. Now let us do it for B. What's the first step? Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So 80,000. That 80,000 or standard rent, whichever is lower. So again 80,000. Okay. That are you all doing with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Or 80,000 or actual rent, which is 1 lakh, whichever is higher. So 1 lakh. And then municipal tax will deduct. Acha, students close here and then say, ma'am, पूरा correct किया तो भी 3 out of 5 दिए. I told you. मतलब थोड़ा मेरा आवाज भी थोड़ा जोर से ही निकाल रही हूं मैं. No one will come and tell you. देखो दीप्ति मैम ने सिखाया था ना, NAV आने के बाद ना standard deduction देना. You have to mandatorily give 30% standard deduction. So you got 88,000. Pick up your calculators. 88,000 ka 30%. 26,400. Same way here. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is high. So 120. That or standard rent. Standard rent to hai nahi. So we'll skip this step. So again, that step 1 answer or actual rent, whichever is high. So 120. And what was the actual rent? 1 lakh. Whichever is high. So 120. Municipal tax. Standard deduction and over. Once you get this correctly, I've never seen students getting 0 mark या ऐसे हाउस प्रॉपर्टी में अगर 5 मार्क का प्रॉब्लम है तो 4 तो मिल जाते हैं एक आधी सिली मिस्टेक. If it's a 7 mark problem, usually students get 7 out of 7. It's that easy, that scoring and that time saver also. Chalo. Now we'll go for some extra bits in this and then I will solve first problem also with all of you. ठीक है? एक बार GAV clear होगा तो we'll take a break. I'll speak to sir also and then we'll go to interest on loan. ये देखो. हाँ, कहाँ थे हम? Yeah. Now see, if the property is self-occupied, the GAV is nil. Ma'am, just now you taught fair rent, municipal value, blah, blah. Arey, but if the property is self-occupied, you are staying over there, then what is the GAV? GAV is nil. Okay, right. If the property is self-occupied partly during the year and let out, beautiful. I want all of you to write an example. April, May, June. I was staying in my own house, self-occupied property. Then I constructed another house. I shifted. April, May, June. I was staying in my own house. It was self-occupied. Then July to March. I have let it out. Chalo, now I have shifted to my new house. From July, I'll give it on rent. Shall we follow these steps? Yes. Ma'am, but 3 months the property is self-occupied. Don't bother. For 12 months, you follow the steps. Please keep patience. I am explaining very important concept. If we are mutually discussing, I'll not explain again. ये पूरा पार्ट जो है ना ये इसी का ट्विस्ट है. मैंने पहले ही बोला किसी को वैनिला आइसक्रीम खानी नहीं है, पूरा खिचखिच करके खाना है, तो ये खिचखिच है. अभी देखो, सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड प्रॉपर्टी थ्रूआउट द ईयर, व्हाट्स द GAV? Nil. Ma'am, then if the GAV is nil and municipal tax in self-occupied property is not allowed, so NAV will also become nil. And nil ka 30% will also become nil. So self-occupied property, no rental income. How many self-occupied properties are allowed? 2, right? Now, if the property is let out or deemed let out throughout the year, then to just now we have solved problem number 2. If the property is vacant for some period, I have to put 2 lakh board, but property koi rent pe gayi nahi, no one took the property on rent and let out for some part. Now, if the actual rent is low due to vacancy, then take actual rent. This I don't want to explain now. इसको मैं अलग से आपको बताऊंगी. एक साथ पूरे वैरायटी बता दिए तो आप कंफ्यूज हो जाओ. आप ये सुनो ध्यान से. If the actual rent is low due to vacancy, then take actual rent as GAV irrespective of other values. Ma'am, what do you mean by this point? Just understand it, and when I apply and solve 3 problems, it will be clear. What are the steps? Can you all repeat with me quickly? What are the steps? Fair rent
Or municipal value.
municipal value, whichever is higher. That or
Step 1 or standard rent,
whichever is lower. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. That means step 2. Now listen carefully. Step 2 or actual rent, whichever is higher. So sometimes actual rent is low, not because it was self-occupied, but it was vacant. मैंने तो 12 months I have put the property on rent, but it so happened that 4 months it was vacant. Then a tenant came. So actual rent will be for 8 months. And this step 1, step 2, fair rent, municipal value will be for 12 months. So ma'am, actual rent is low because of vacancy. And what is this? What's the third step? Step 2 or actual rent, whichever is higher. So higher may be step 2, but ma'am, actual rent is low because of vacancy. Then forget about the steps. सब step को side में हटाओ. Take actual rent as GAV. I know as a student when I heard like this, Dipti ma'am कुछ भी नहीं समझा. So let us apply this and solve the question. 100% clarity you will get. This is all not theory. ये सब ना आपको पूरा practical है. You have to apply this and solve the problem. आ जाओ कुछ और problems करते हैं from the screen. And it's good we can capitalize each and everything because we are professionals, है ना? So I will capitalize this also because you are not having the material, no? I'll hide the answer and then I'll say खुद से करो और फिर ना हम उसको चेक करेंगे कि आपने करेक्ट किया है. आ जाओ चलो. Yeah. Determine the GAV in the following cases. I want all of you to work out these problems in the notebook. Each one. Aram se. Sanjay has let out his house property 12,000 per month. And municipal value is 1.8 lakhs. I know some problem may be easy, but take up the figures, listen to me and start working the question and answers. Our purpose is just to derive the GAV. Aja. Problem number 1. A bit. I'm reading loudly for all of you and giving you the data. मैं read क्या मैं आपको लिखाई देती हूँ ये सब. These are not actual problems. These are MCQs. Plus these are the problems to give you lot of practice for the GAV. है ना? चलो आ जाओ. A bit लिखो. A bit में they have given that rent is 12,000 per month. I want everyone to write what I am writing. And the municipal value is 1,80,000. Now answer. What will be the actual rent? I want answer from all of you. 12 12s are 1,44,000 and this is 180. Now we are in the prayer mode today. You know how prayers and rituals we follow? This income tax is also a ritual. फिर आप भी आके बोलोगे 87 मिले, 82 मिले, 90 मिले टैक्स में पक्का. ये देखो. You can write. नहीं कितने मैंने बोला था पहले भी कितना भी इजी है. If you trust Deepti ma'am's procedure, if you want to get good speed for MCQ, right now मैं भी तो लिख ही रही हूँ ना. Fair rent और municipal value whichever is. चलो एक काम करते हैं ब्रीफ में लिखेंगे. हायर को आई एम गिविंग यू परमिशन टू पुट एरो मार्क. फेयर रेंट और म्युनिसिपल वैल्यू व्हिचएवर इज हायर. तो म्युनिसिपल वैल्यू कितनी है? 180. व्हाट स्टेप 2? स्टेप 1 और स्टैंडर्ड रेंट व्हिचएवर इज लोअर. स्टेप 1 और स्टैंडर्ड रेंट वो तो है ही नहीं. स्टैंडर्ड रेंट ही नहीं दिया. Step 2 or actual rent whichever is higher. So what is step 2? Step 1 का ही answer 180. And what is actual rent? 144 whichever is higher. So what is step 3 answer? 180. So what will be GAV all of you? 180. Ma'am, but I have received rent only 1,44,000. Why you are asking me to pay the tax on 180? Sorry. Notional income is taxable in the house property. And if you say, ma'am, problem is over here, gone. What's the municipal tax?
30%.
कुछ नहीं दिया है तो nil. फिर क्या लिखूं? I'm copying from your book. यहाँ क्या लिखूं? हाँ? फॉर्मेट लर्न हो गया? नहीं, यस मैम तो आवाज नहीं आ रही. नींद में से उठा के बोले हाउस प्रॉपर्टी करो तो 5 मिनट करके ये लो, ले लो, टेक इट. What should I write here? NAV. GAV minus municipal taxes NAV. And then what should I do? 30%. I want all of you to put an arrow mark now. Don't put in final exam. आपको वैलियर को नहीं पढ़ाना है तो मत पढ़ाओ. उसको सब मालूम है पेपर करेक्टर को. But right now, ma'am, I did whole problem correct, but by mistake I took 30% of GAV. Gone. 30% of NAV. So what is your IFHP, income from house property? You are allowed to like this brief. 100. Over and out. 2 marks question completed. Now ask your doubts.
So,
अच्छा, it's 1 minute, हाँ? It's not only doubts, बेटा. Doubts नहीं, आपके mind में कोई और option है, कुछ भी है तो पूछो. No doubt?
No.
Thank you. पक्का मैं अच्छा पढ़ा नहीं हूँ, आपको समझ में आ रहा है. One more problem, we'll take a break, then we'll continue. आ जाओ. Write down the second problem. I'm dictating as you all are not having material. आ जाओ. Ramna has a property whose municipal value is 2,40,000. She has given it out on rent to bank. Okay, from July 24 on the monthly rent of 30,000 per month. I'm giving you all the figures. April, May, June. April, May, June, the property was vacant. खाली पड़ा था property. Vacant था. अब देखो. What will be the actual rent? Can someone calculate?
2,70,000.
Yeah. 3 nines are 27. 30,000 into 9, 2,70,000. Now, even if it's very easy orally, you know, अक्कड़ बक्कड़ करते हैं ना, ऐसे भी आप आंसर दे सकते हो, लेकिन अक्कड़ बक्कड़ मार्क्स नहीं मिलते बेटा. तो लिखो स्टेप 1, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Fair rent or municipal value. So fair rent is not there. So 240. Step 2, step 1 or standard rent, whichever is lower. Same 240 because standard rent is missing in the question. Step 2 or actual rent, whichever is higher. Step 2 is 240. You can write like this in the inner column, the way I'm writing. And 270, whichever is higher. So what we will take? 270. So what will be the GAV? 270. If municipal tax is missing, no need to write the steps. Ma'am, then why did you write? Learning mode, na? Directly, can we take standard deduction? Yes. 81,000, and whenever we do minus, we put the things in bracket and you get NAV 1,89,000. Is the sum very clear to all of you? Chalo. For third sum is there on the screen also. But first you take a break, then come back and do that third sum and share your answers. Third, fourth, fifth सब खुद से करना है, but I'm also taking 5 minutes break and I'll be back sitting here and you tell me all the answers. आ जाओ. You want more time or done with?
Done.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, what's the answer of the C bit then?
C bit, it is 90.
Each one of you should give one answer. अब मैं नाम नहीं ले रही है. काम आप बोलो, आयुष एक, श्रेया आप बोलो, दीपल एक आप बोलो, ऐसे नहीं, आप ही कर लो एक एक. Just say one answer, each one of you. Okay, what's the answer for the third one?
63.
Acha, which answer you are saying? That's also important. GAV or the final answer?
Final.
अच्छा, फाइनल आंसर, ठीक है. चलो जीएवी बोल दो पहले. थर्ड का कितना आया जीएवी?
90.
90,000. You all got the GAV for the third one?
Yes.
Everyone got 90,000?
Yes.
Okay. अपना अपना कर रहे हैं ना, कॉपी पेस्ट तो नहीं कर रहे हैं. ऐसे तो नहीं करोगे आप, क्योंकि फाइनल एग्जाम में नहीं कर सकते ना, अलाउड नहीं है ना डिस्कस करना. चलो ओके. हाँ, 90,000. 90,000 is not the right answer. Let me check why. Naresh owns a flat which is assessed by local authority with a annual value. Local authority means what is 90,000? Municipal value. I'm just doing it here because you're not having notebook. तो आप read कर सको. आप ऐसे मत करना, आप notebook में ही करना. हाँ. The property is let out on 7,500. The tenant vacated the property in September. Okay. So, April to September. April, May, June, July, August, September. 7,500 into 6. How much is it coming?
45.
Yeah. Can the rent change in between the year? अभी 7.5 था, next महीने से it's going to be 10,000. Like that they can. Now for the month of October to January, the flat was vacant as no tenant could be identified. Now in February 24, we got a tenant of 10,000 in February. So 10,000 into 2, 20,000. So what is the actual rent of the property? 65,000. So now our first step, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Okay, right? So 90,000. Now that or I'll do it here. First step ka answer hai 90,000. Second step is this or standard rent. So standard rent is missing. So we'll take the same 90,000. Step 3. Step 2 or actual rent. 65,000, whichever is higher. So you all have taken 90,000. There's a but here. I want all of you to write this in notebook. I am doing here so that you get link of the problem. Actual rent is low due to vacancy. See, there are 12 months in a year. This property was occupied for 6 months, then 2 months, total 8 months. 4 months, it was vacant. Khali pada tha property. So if actual rent is low because of vacancy, ma'am, agar vacancy nahi hota na, तो 10 या 7, at least 7,000 into 4. How much is it coming? 30,000 more rent we must have received. 65 plus 30. Take your time. All of you are doing it for the first time. So, if this property was not vacant, forget about 10,000. कि ज़्यादा होता है या कम. At least I would have received 7,500 into 4, 30,000 more rent. And 65 and 30 is 95. If actual rent is low because of vacancy, then forget the high, low, high, waves or tide. Take GAV as actual rent, that is 65,000. You have to write like this in exam. Actual rent is low due to vacancy. Naresh ka property was vacant for October, November, December and January. 4 months the property was vacant. Sometimes when we have clear intentions and we work hard, God is helping. I feel like material नहीं है तो और अच्छा हुआ. नहीं तो material में देख देख के बहुत जल्दी आंसर आ जाता था and you would not learn it this way what you are learning. है ना? Tell me, have you all made the correction in the third one and is that clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For the third one, I want all of you to write a note in your notebook, please, without fail, promise. And I want all of you to go and read it here also. ये देखो. Because this point students usually do wrong, I have printed it in bold. जहाँ भी आपको कुछ bold में दिखेगा ना, without fail, it's a very important note. If the property is vacant for some period, 4 months, let out for some period. Now, if actual rent is low due to vacancy, then take actual rent as GAV, irrespective of other values. ठीक है? चलो, आ जाओ. After that. Fourth one. Krishna owned a flat, municipal value is 120. By end of July 24, he completed construction of the bungalow. On 1st August, shifted to new house. From August, this property was given on rent. Till July, we were staying. So April, May, June, July. It was self-occupied for 4 months. Now let out from August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 8 months. 8 8s are 64. Now tell me, what's your answer?
1,20,000.
Why that murmuring of voice? ऐसे बिंदास जोर से बोलो. You all are in learning mode. अगर गलत हो जाएगा तो मैं कुछ आपको पनिश नहीं कर रही हूँ. I want everyone to answer. What's your debate answer?
1,20,000.
And that's correct this time. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So 120. That or standard rent, whichever is lower. So 120. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. So 120 is the GAV. Ma'am, why didn't you take 64,000? Actual rent is not low because of vacancy. It's low because partly it was self-occupied, partly it is later. It's not low because of vacancy. If you have enjoyed today's class, today itself, after completing the class, your other classes, make sure at home you open your institute study material. Ma'am, study material मिला नहीं. अभी ना ये बड़े 101 reasons of not clearing the exam. I'm going to write a book with my students when I retire. Don't tell me this. You all have that website, CA CMA. Go there, download your material, keep it in your laptop, tab, whatever you use, and answer every question's GAV correctly. आज ही करना है ये homework. चलो, fourth one was pretty easy. अच्छा, take a pause, all of you. Third and fourth, the difference is clear. In third one, the property was vacant for 4 months. Here, the property was self-occupied. Self-occupied, just follow the steps. Ma'am, how to remember? दीप्ति मैम ने बहुत मेहनत से ये कंपाइलर बनाया. बहुत मेहनत. हर बार की एडिटिंग, हर बार का मटेरियल. ये देखो, आ जाओ. If the property is self-occupied, then to take GAV name. If the property is self-occupied partly, let out partly, follow the steps. If it is let out throughout the year, follow the steps. If the property is vacant for some period and let out for some period, yeah. Now, if the actual rent is low due to vacancy, take actual rent as GAV irrespective of other values. इतना crystal clear language में लिखा है. And this point I said, I'll explain it later with example. Yeah. Moving towards the last one in this GAV. GAV के कॉन्सेप्ट में चलो. फिफ्थ वन. हाँ, फिफ्थ वन आंसर बोल दो पहले तो.
1 lakh.
1 lakh is your answer. Okay, let me check. It was self-occupied for 4 months, let out for 8 months, 10,000 per month. So what is the municipal value? 110 or 90,000, whichever is higher. So first bit is 1,10,000. That or 1 lakh standard rent, whichever is lower. So 1 lakh. That or actual rent 80,000, whichever is higher. So 1 lakh. 1 lakh is the answer. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So this. Yeah, right? 110 or 90, whichever is higher. So this. Now this or 1 lakh, whichever is lower. So 1 lakh. Now that or actual rent, whichever is higher. So 1 lakh is the GAV. Easy, right? You will surely get your material. So the way you have done now, I trust you all students that without checking the answer, you will do problem number 3 as homework for today. Problem number 3 आप पक्का homework करोगे. Then I'm going to last concept मतलब in the base level problem. और तो फिर आगे और हैं pre-construction. But जैसे pumping heart of residential status, what it was, that concept of deemed resident and all. Like that, the pumping heart of the house property chapter is interest table, which I want to take up now. Interest. Huh. You know, properties are in GK, I'm telling you. Listen, all of you. Until now, how much we have done, shall we say totally? GAV. Less municipal taxes on actual payment basis paid by owner. NAV. NAV minus 30% standard deduction. That's for all your expenditure. Ma'am, but in exam, if they give actual ground rent, itna tha, ye tha, I call it kachra, garbage, hada do. Don't consider it, ignore it with a note and take 30% standard deduction. I've given all the variety in my material. In 1 or 2 problem, it was not there. I added the bit so that you get confused, then you get clarity, then you learn, right? So the level of the problems are also too good. Even rental income received in dollars, we'll be doing it tomorrow. Right now, listen carefully. GAV, municipal tax, NAV, standard deduction. One more deduction is allowed, that's called as interest on loan. When I purchase house, the normal value of 1 bedroom hall kitchen will be somewhere around 80 lakhs, 90 lakhs, crore, depending on the area. So usually people take housing loan to purchase the house. See, a layman's logic, which is actually so much in-depth studied in FM, time value of money, but very practical, we all should know. Suppose if I am paying 25,000 per month rent. Okay. Now, if I get a small flat, second hand of my choice, but for that I have to pay EMI 40,000. Can I say from my salary 15,000? I'm telling, एकदम scratch से बता रही हूँ, थोड़ा practical side और बाकी exam side. So right now I'm paying rent 25,000. But if I purchase this chotu sa flat, I'll have to pay EMI, equated monthly installments. Housing loan लेते हो तो you have to pay the EMI, no? And housing loan goes on for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. So what I will do is, instead of paying 25,000 rent, I can definitely arrange 15,000 extra I can save from my monthly income, and I'll pay 40,000 EMI and I'll buy the house. The moment I buy the house for self-occupied or for rental, anything, interest meter has to started, no? That interest on loan which you have taken from a housing finance company or a bank or a financial institute, अब इन तीन का difference क्या है that I want you to study as book. I'm not going to teach, but this is basic GK. लिख के रखो कहीं homework. Types of bank you should know. Scheduled, nationalized bank and private banks And financial institute and bank, what's the difference? Housing finance company. So you took a loan, you are paying EMI. In every equated monthly installment, principal is also there, interest is also there. Interest, you can deduct it here. Ma'am, but this year's interest was due, but I was traveling to Singapore and all. Sorry, I missed out. I didn't pay the interest. Still, will you get a deduction? Yes. That's why if you check in your material, I'll show you now. Boldly, I have written interest on loan allowed on due basis. Municipal tax allowed on payment basis. This is like alert, 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 alert. 10 बार गाना गाएंगे तो याद हो जाए. इसको रटना नहीं बोलते, इसको अंडरस्टैंड इट डीपर. डीपर अंडरस्टैंडिंग हेल्प्स यू टू स्कोर एग्जाम्शन. सुपरफिशियल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, हाँ मैम हो गया, शॉर्टकट चार्ट बढ़ा दो, टिक करा दो, ये करा दो, then it's 45, 46, 48. Ma'am, I lost in aggregate. So the journey is very in-depth. Municipal tax is allowed on payment basis. Interest on loan is allowed on due basis. If you take loan, from today's homework is, after the class, talk to your papa, talk to your father or any senior family member who has taken the loan and ask them to show you the papers. They'll show you the table that you are paying EMI every month in this, principal is this much, interest is. अच्छे से करो उसको. It's a very nice. And how these agreements are made. And when you take the housing loan, they give your property also for mortgage. So how much is the stamp duty you have paid on the mortgage? Please, this is all beautiful knowledge. The more you extract it from the people around you, better. And knowledge is not restricted in classroom. Now, ma'am, how much interest on loan will be allowed? Take a pause and tell me, if you have one house property and it is self-occupied, you are only staying in your house, what will be the GAV? Self-occupied property. एक ही आपके पास, you are staying over there. What will be the GAV? Nil. Municipal tax of self-occupied property is not allowed. Why, ma'am? Let out, deem let out आप allow कर रहे, इसको क्यों नहीं allow कर रहे? If I am staying in my own house and I am paying municipal taxes, it's like my personal expenditure. मेरे घर का municipal tax है, it's not allowed. So what's the NAV? Nil. Nil का 30%? Nil. So can I say self-occupied property, it's all nil, 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 nil. But ma'am, for this self-occupied property, I have taken loan. How much interest will be allowed yearly? 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs. This figure you have to learn. You will learn it. यहाँ से लेकर set off के chapter तक 50 बार आ जाएगा. So 2 lakh is the maximum interest on loan on due basis allowed in self-occupied property. What about the let out and deemed let out property? Actual interest. This year I have paid 4,25,000 interest in my housing loan. Let me tell you, please analyze in that EMI वाला chart जो मैंने आपको homework बोला है. The actual interest paid will always be very high initially and later on lower. Now I don't know where you are taught this. ये FM में आता है ना. जैसे जैसे you repay the loan, interest reduces principal input. Initial years though interest is very high. So in the let out and deemed let out, can we deduct actual interest? Ma'am, I paid 6,20,000 interest. Can we deduct it? Yes, you can. Okay, right. So this is how we study the interest on loan. एक काम करते हैं, पहले ये टेबल से पढ़ते हैं, फिर आपको कुछ डाउट है तो पूछो. चलो. Interest on loan is allowed on due basis. इसको underline करो, due basis. Deem let out and let out, full interest is allowed. Self-occupied. Self-occupied, maximum interest is allowed 2 cases, subject to condition. What are they? Loan is taken after 1/4/99. Ma'am, obviously. अभी तो 2024 चल रहा है. 99 तो आपका जमाना था जब आप CA फाइनल में थे, हमारा नहीं है. So after 1/4/99 and loan is taken for purchase of the house or construction, and the construction is completed in 5 years. Ma'am, what if I take the loan prior to 1499? Or today also if I take loan, not for construction and purchase, but repairs and renovation. Listen, all of you, dear students, renewing the renovation of house also takes crores of rupees. I have purchased a house long back in 250. Today, if I decide to renovate, it's not 25 lakhs. It's 250 lakhs. 2.5 crore का खर्चा है. Can I take loan for repairs and renovation? Yes. How much interest will be allowed? 30,000. Now ask your doubts. पूछो.
Will this deduction be allowed only on the rental income from income from house property or the total income? Like from all
No,
the heads?
rental income, we are only in the house property head. Only in the house property. Only in the house property. Only in the
I
house.
don't have any rental income. I won't be allowed deduction even if there is interest on loan.
I told you, no, self-occupied. मेरा एक ही घर है. I'm staying in my house. DAV nil, NAV nil, and 10 also I can claim. How much interest? 2 lakh, and it's a loss.
Okay.
Is your doubt clear? You can ask me 4 times, हाँ? मैम 2 बार पूछी, अब hesitate हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं. और किसी को कोई भी doubt है तो पूछो. Not clear, beta. This, suppose you have, listen, suppose you have only one house, and in that one house, you're not getting any rental income. So it's self-occupied, GAV nil, NAV nil. But then for that one house also, you have taken loan and you have paid 4,30,000 interest. How much interest you will be allowed as deduction? 2 lakh. Ma'am, what about remaining interest? Can I not adjust it in salary and all? No. एक तो पहले ही इनकम नहीं है तो भी they are allowing you loss up to 2 lakh. It's the limit given by Act.
So this 2 lakh can be deducted, like totally adjusted from all the heads, right?
No, please don't bring all the heads here, बेटा. हम लोग अभी सिर्फ हाउस प्रॉपर्टी में है. You can't say कि मैम my house property income तो nil है, तो अब 2 lakh तो loss आ गया. Then this loss can I set off in salary? I will teach you. Don't rush ahead. That set off chapter में कि how you, मैम house property तो, अच्छा, you're right. I think your mind is कि मैम if I have one property, always I'll have loss in house property. True. Can you set off this with other property income? House 1, house 2, house 3? Yes. Ma'am, can I set off this with other heads? I have salary income also. 18 lakhs. Can I set off? Yes. But while set off, there are some rules like your board mass rules, minus. हम बाद में पढ़ेंगे. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. और क्या डाउट है बेटा पूछो. और इंटरेस्ट एंड इंटरेस्ट और भी 2-3 कॉन्सेप्ट है बट आई नो वेयर टू पॉज. आज के लिए इतना ज्ञान बस है. द क्लास इज नॉट ओवर. ब्यूटिफुल प्रॉब्लम्स वी आर डूइंग नाउ which are asked in exam combination problems. Till here it is clear, no? एक बार. Yeah, I want to repeat once. Self-occupied property, interest is allowed 2 lakh if the loan is taken after 1499 for purchase and construction over in 5 years. If loan is taken before 99 or loan is taken today but for repairs and renovation, how much interest is allowed? Only 30,000. And there are many things here. Ye, loan and all, and old regime and this and that. These are very beautiful pointers. एक एक बहुत ध्यान से मैंने लिखा है, but मुझे आज नहीं पढ़ाना. आज इतना बस है. Now I'm going for, अच्छा, before I go to combination problems, first page and second page I want all of you to study thoroughly. यहाँ तक. Okay? चलो, देखो. Now come back and see your format. Self-occupied property, GAV nil, municipal tax nil. Actually nil kya? Not allowed. NAV nil. Interest on loan 2 lakh. Pre-construction interest is some term which I will introduce on. आज तो Monday है, Wednesday. कल भी नहीं पढ़ना pre-construction. पर ठीक है. और taxable income आ गया. Deem let out and let out. GAV note 1. What was note 1? वो सब fair rent and all. Municipal tax note 2. Ma'am, what was note 2? Municipal tax allowed on payment basis including sewerage. Standard deduction, note 3. Ma'am, what is note 3? Standard deduction is allowed for irrespective of the actual expenditure. Yeah. Interest on loan, note 4. अच्छा, note 4. अभी आपको जो फ्लो चार्ट पढ़ा है. प्री कंस्ट्रक्शन इंटरेस्ट नोट 5 बाद में पढ़ेंगे. पेंटिंग एंड यू. Are you now ready to dive in the 7 marks question? My main emphasis today is to make you calculate GAV correctly. Second is to learn the format of the chapter. Some twist and turns are there in interest on house property. That we will do it in tomorrow's class. आ जाओ. कहाँ थे हम? कॉम्बिनेशन वाले प्रॉब्लम करेंगे, अच्छे वाले एकदम. In fact, I want to take up study materials problem. This one only, directly. Ruhi has 3 houses in Surat, all self-occupied. Wow, lucky she's. She's having 3 houses as self-occupied. How many you can take as self-occupied? 2. So one house, even if they don't say in exam, we'll have to treat it as deemed let out property. And particulars of income are given. Okay, right. House 1, municipal value, fair rent, standard rent, date of purchase, 31st March 99. Acha, municipal tax is not given in amount. It's given as a percentage. Kaise karu? How do I work out 12% of what?
Full value.
3 lakh. Great answer. 12% of municipal value. But ma'am, GAV is not municipal value. Forget it. Forget what is GAV. If they give you municipal tax as percentage, you have to take it of the municipal value. 8% and 6% and so on. ठीक है? हाँ. Interest on loan is taken for repairs. 55,000. If you take loan for repairs, how much interest is allowed?
30,000.
30,000, but only if it is self-occupied. बच्चे क्या करते हैं ना, repairs देखते से, no ma'am 30, no ma'am 2 lakh. This is the 80% mistakes in the answer sheet. But these limits are only for self-occupied. Go and check the table. Let out the actual interest is allowed. If you treat it as DLOP, full interest will be allowed. हाँ, अब बात करते हैं हम हाउस 3, interest on loan 175. How much interest on loan is, when did you borrow? 2017. Did you take the loan after 1499? Yeah. For purchase or construction, yes. Then 175 will be allowed. Yeah, one googly I want all of you to learn here. I'm really saying, some student, अभी मुझे एक feel हो रहा है, बहुत student मुझसे पूछते हैं कि ma'am, can we not do self study? It's not possible. It's possible if you have proper notes and very in-depth explanation. Now I have taught you, I have made you write everything. But one thing where student miss out is self-occupied properties. Total interest allowed is 2 lakh. Ma'am, I have 2 self-occupied property. In one, 175 interest. In allow other 30,000. मिला के कितना हो गया? 175 and 30. I'll work out now, but I'm just asking you. Yeah, it has gone above 2 lakh. So please remember, if you have 2 self-occupied property, put together all the interest is 2 lakh. It's not एक property 2 lakh रुपए का deduction लो, मजे करो. No. Total self-occupied properties, the deduction is 2 lakh. And I'll show you the pitfall. जहां आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा, आप एग्जाम में गलत करके इनसे वो हाउस प्रॉपर्टी was so easy, still I lost the marks. Now I want all of you to read the problem again. They have asked you compute the income. अच्छा नहीं पूछा, question ही missing है, but you have to compute the income. ठीक है? Now there are 3 houses. So, whenever this kind of question comes in exam and all the three houses are self-occupied, you have to go for combinations. Ma'am, can I take H1 and H2 as self-occupied and H3 as LOP? हाँ, आपकी मर्जी. Ma'am, can I take this as LOP and these two as self? आपकी मर्जी. Ma'am, can I take this and this as S? आपकी मर्जी. So, in short, sixth question in your notebook, because figures are missing for that step, I'll make you write, don't worry. You have to work out combination. Ma'am, can we choose every year or fixed? House 1, house 2, SOP. House 3, LOP. No. Every year you can make a choice. So you will go for combination where income is low, tax is low. So now let us take 15-20 minutes भी लगे तो कोई problem नहीं है. बहुत अच्छा question है. The one I'm taking up now. Okay? And other two I'll give as homework. करके आना है. Tomorrow I'll explain you कि in one property only part is self-occupied. तो थोड़े advanced level problem करेंगे. But today is your first class, so whatever I have taught, that only I am giving in note. आ जाओ. Except red, all the colors you can use. Red color you should keep in bold for your. So I am doing question number. ना number तो लगेगा ना. Problem number 6. अरे I wanted to share और कहाँ चले गया? Yeah. Are you all able to see the screen sharing I have done for notebook? नोटबुक दिख रहा है आपको स्क्रीन पे? चलो. Problem number 6. Now we are starting. I'll give you all the figures. All the three houses. So we will start writing the answer with a proper heading. Computation of income for Ruhi. Write down. For which financial year also we are doing. House property is the only head I remember years I have been teaching. Decades I have been teaching. इसमें कुछ change नहीं होता कभी भी.
नहीं पर भी है नाम है वो
Computation of income of Ruhi. Particulars, and first we will take it as option for SOP. This is not my main answer. Main answer बाद में आएगा. अभी मैं working note. Ma'am, how can we start with working note? Answer should start with main answer. Trading P&L balance sheet followed by working note 1. Partnership accounts followed by working note 1. PSR ऐसे. But ये ना income tax है. ये definitely you can start with the working notes. ठीक है? चलो तो start करते हैं हम. Assuming all the three are self-occupied. तो अब कैसे होगा? If all the three are self-occupied, what will be the GAV?
Nil.
मैम ये सब लिखना पड़ेगा. H1, H2, H3. Yes. Step wise marks are there. So GAV is nil. NAV is nil. You can put a slash and write NAV. Now interest on loan. In your first house, there is no interest. In your first house, there is no interest. In the second house, interest is 55,000. I'm reading because you are not having the sheet ना. तो मैं आपके लिए read कर रही हूँ कि second वाले में 55 interest है. मैं कितना लूँ interest? हाँ? 30,000. Note 1. Third house interest is 175. Allowed. So obviously, if you take it as self-occupied property, what will be the income for house 1? Nil. House 2, 30,000. House 3, 175. Chalo. Now I want all of you to write note 1. House 2. Interest on loan is rupees 55,000 for repairs. Allowed only rupees 30,000. Logically very correct and beautiful also. House property 2. Interest is 55 given in the question. Why did I take 30,000? If you take loan for repairs, renovation, it's just 30,000. Chalo. Now, I'm making working note 1 में किसी को doubt है बेटा? Options for DLOP. Ma'am, why you are not taking LOP? LOP है ही नहीं. All the 3 properties are थोड़ा बड़ा column बनाओ. H1, I mean say little in length, bigger. This is online live class तो fine. I remember whenever it is face to face class. मैम कितने लाइन रखूं? हाफ पेज बनाऊं, फुल पेज बनाऊं? ठीक है, चलो. Options for DLOP. अच्छा, listen. Whenever it is deemed let out, it's like a actual house property problem. So now also in exam also, can we draw the format first? Yes, allowed. तो आपको बिल्कुल allowed है format draw करना और आप मेरे साथ format बनाओ. First is we have to derive the GAV by step method. So I want all of you to write fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. I want you to leave one line अगर कुछ notes लिखना है तो exam में no need to leave. Step 1 or standard rent, whichever is lower. Step 2 or actual rent, whichever is higher. Step 2 or actual rent, whichever is higher. So after this, what you will get? GAV, gross annual value. Less what I should deduct? Once you get GAV, what do you deduct the first thing?
Municipal tax.
Municipal tax on payment basis if paid by the owner. Then you get the net annual value. And then nothing given, 30% standard deduction of NAV. And then you deduct interest on loan. And then you get income from house property. Definitely in exam also you can make this format quickly in 3 minutes. आज तो first class है. Not by tomorrow. Day after tomorrow घर में बोल के रख देना. नींद में से उठा के पूछना हाउस प्रॉपर्टी फॉर्मेट आता है या नहीं. चलो. We'll do it for the first house. We'll work out the combination. I'm reading the answer for all of you for the first house. Because the figures are not there with you, no? Write down. Municipal value is 3 lakh. And fair rent is 375. So what we will do?
3,75,000.
Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher is your main answer. I'm writing this just to support you. You can skip and write directly this in exam. Now 375 or standard rent. Standard rent is 3.5. Whichever is lower. So what you will take? 3,50,000. Correct? 375. Step 1 answer. Or I'm going little slow because everyone don't understand with the same speed. Some need lot of repetition. ऐसे मेरे जैसे बहुत लोग होंगे जो बोलते होंगे मैम लॉ और थियोरी जितनी बार पढ़ो उतना ही टाइम लगता है. that answer you asked to law, sir. But I'm just saying that's why I repeat many times. Step 1 or standard rent, whichever is lower. So 350. Now this or actual rent. Why they didn't give you actual rent? Why actual rent is missing in the question?
It is self-occupied.
Because all the properties are self-occupied. Actual rent hai hi nahi. Ma'am, still we have to work out the third step. Yes. So here your step 2 will only be your answer. And whichever is higher. So GAV is 350. Correct hai ya nahi?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, municipal tax, they have given 12%. So you have to take 3 lakh ka 12%. 3 lakh is the municipal value. 12%. That comes to 36,000. 3 lakh 14,000. 3 lakh 14,000 ka 30%. 94,200. And interest on loan is not there. So if you take house 1 as DLOP, your income is 219,800. Anyone is having any doubt? No, then I'm giving you the data. You work out. Fair. Yeah, I'll give you the data. पूरा आंसर मुझे फाइनल बताओ. आप लिख लो. हाउस 2 के लिए आप यहाँ नीचे लिख लो. Because it's like rough work, na? Municipal value is 3,60,000. Fair rent is 2,75,000. And standard rent is 370. As good as I'm copying the problem for you. And municipal tax is 8%. Interest is 55,000. House 3, municipal value is 330. Fair rent is 3,80,000. Standard rent is 375. Municipal tax is 6%. And interest is up karo. I'm here only. Ask me if you have any. अरे खुद से करो ना. गलत है तो थोड़ा इंक वेस्ट जाएगा, थोड़े लाइंस वेस्ट जाएंगे. डिस्कस मत करो. एक बात मुझे बोलने है. आई डोंट वांट एनी स्टूडेंट व्हेन आई से डू इट इन द क्लास टू फील कि नो माय नोटबुक शुड बी वेरी नीट. नीट notebooks are not getting neat marks. It's okay if you are at least trying doing it, scratching it, doing it. मैम फिर तो नोटबुक गंदी होगी, मैं तो बैठता हूँ, आप कर लो, फिर मैं कॉपी करूंगा. नो, नो फॉर श्योर. सो टेक द फिगर्स. सॉरी ना, आई शिफ्टेड द स्क्रीन तो आपका ये चला गया. हाँ, ये करो.
अच्छा.
When you complete both the bits, tell me the final answer. And you can differ. Ma'am, मेरा तो इतना आ रहा है, मेरा तो your understanding. No problem.
सेकंड वन है 3,30,000 के थर्ड हाउस पे लिया नीचे क्या है ये फेयर वैल्यू 3,80,000 अच्छा
जल्दी कर हो गया
वो ना
और बस मैंने समझ सारे स्टेप फॉलो करने चाहिए ना
हाँ क्या कर रहे हैं
डिस्कस करके दोगे फाइनल एग्जाम पक्का?
अरे बात क्या हो
हाँ, व्हाट द आंसर?
हाँ वेरी गुड
I really want you to take it as a very adventurous experience. अगर notebook में answers रहते, this is the first time I've printed the answer. I don't know, now the trend is changing. I thought, chalo, theek hai, listen to students. Otherwise, Dipti ma'am's way of teaching is very tough. Never you will get the answers. So you struggle, so you outperform. Chalo. What's the answer for the second one? I'm waiting. Huh?
180, 840.
How much?
840 तो बोल ना कुछ इतनी देर से हम क्या बोल
अच्छा सब अपने अपने बोलो. एक तो मुझे सुनाई दिया 176 840 और
180, 840.
हाँ
180, 840.
180 240 ठीक है. और Please live in a diversified cultured country. मिले सर हमारा तुम्हारा सब अलग अलग अपने आंसर बताओ. दीप्ति मैम सबको अलग अलग भी पढ़ाते हैं. और कोई? ठीक है चलो. ओके व्हाट्स द आंसर फॉर दिस वन?
71 540
71 540 ओके. और
बस
बस पूरे मिला जुला के सब जुल कर रहे हैं, गलत कर रहे हैं. अच्छा, one thing I want to say to all of you, in income tax, I cannot teach you everyday new things. Today's concept was learn the format, GAV से लेकर last तक. Second was be perfect, how to take municipal taxes, standard deduction to 30%, and how to take interest on loan. If you are not perfect with this, no, I cannot teach you new things tomorrow because they are advanced level. तो पहले ये तो आए, पहले 2 का टेबल सीखेंगे कि सीधा 20 का टेबल सीखेंगे. Third answer check करो. I'm giving you one more chance. It's wrong for all of you. Third answer is wrong. I'm giving you 2 minutes time. Do the correction.
73, 640 मैम थर्ड आंसर.
73 640 है क्या मैम पूछ रहे हैं आप? I think I'm again going to delete all the answers and give you this material without answer. The learning would be more fruitful, है ना? अरे give your feedback. सही में आज का क्लास अच्छा था या नहीं बिना मटेरियल के? चलो, okay. I gave you the answer. Now I'm solving for all of you. Fair. If I say ना, this is the correct answer. इतने सालों का एक्सपीरियंस है. अब मैं सॉल्व कर रही हूँ. अब उसके पहले ही मैंने बता दिया ओके योर आंसर इज करेक्ट. फिर दीप्ति मैम की बात कोई सुनता ही नहीं है. अपना अपना लगे हाँ मैंने ये गलत किया, हाँ मैंने. तो ये सब करना इन द होमवर्क. दैट्स द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ होमवर्क. Otherwise, as a teacher, it's pretty easy to solve 30 problems in the class. It's like juggling to give the homework and then check it next day. हाँ चलो अभी आ जाओ हम साथ में सॉल्व करेंगे. Fair rent or look here, fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So 360. That or 370, standard rent, whichever is lower. So 360. And actual rent is not there. So GAV is 360. Municipal tax is 8%. 8% किसका लिए? अरे 8% you have taken off what? Quick answer.
Municipal value कहीं है ना?
8% you have taken off 360. 28,800. 331,200 into 30%. 99,360 standard deduction. How much interest on loan I should deduct?
30.
Huh?
30,000.
Gone then. आज ना 5 बार लिख के लेके आओ घर से. Interest on loan 30,000 for SOP. Interest on loan 55,000 actual for LOP and DLOP. I want you all to feel that pinch कि when some failures tell you कि अरे ये है वो है टफ है ऐसा है, कभी खुद की गलती लिख के देखी है? I'm making you write your mistake. Interest on loan 30,000 for SOP. What am I teaching it? Ayush Ram, tell me now. What am I teaching it? मतलब what am I treating it now? DLOP. So how much interest I should allow? 55,000. Please smile for yourself if you have done it wrong and you have corrected it now. It's a great achievement. And if you have got it correct first time only, then also smile. Whole class has got the answer. Anyone who is watching the recording, you know, there are some students who are going to college and they are working, and every day evening they are watching one video. So this is a message for all of you. You all have our WhatsApp number. If you have doubt anytime in watching the recording, click the picture, put a message, wait for 24 hours. I'll surely clear your doubt. अच्छा, जो लोग क्लास में बैठे हैं बोलो अभी आंसर आया है नहीं? 176,840. यस मैम होना मुझे जोर से. ठीक है. और ये लिखा, ये जो गलती किया, this works like magic for costing also. Costing is also easy but it's like creative. तो वहां income tax में the moment you do mistake, write your mistake. ठीक है, चलो आ जाओ नेक्स्ट. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher. So what's the first step answer?
Yes.
You can say the answer with me. 380. That or standard rent, whichever is lower. So what's your second step answer?
25.
375. That or actual rent, whichever is higher. So क्या करें?
375.
375. So what's the GAV? 375. What will be the municipal tax? हाँ, now here take a pause. Student क्या करते हैं पता है? 6% of 375. No, not 6% of 375. 6% of municipal value, irrespective of the municipal value is your actual GAV or not. This is the maximum compliment I get, that when we learn with you, you make us alert of the smallest of silly mistake. And I take it very much. Thank you so much if you are also giving that. आप फाइनल एग्जाम में गलती मत करना, तभी तो हम 80+ मार्क्स सेम कर रहे हैं. कितना आ रहा है? 3,75,000 का 6%.
380 का.
हाँ देखो, मैंने भी वही गलती किया. 3,30,000 का 8%. 6% यार, क्या गड़बड़ हो रही है? 6%. 19,800 minus, I'm going so slow. I just realized 25 minutes we are doing only this problem. but the learning is so in depth. 355 200 into 30%, 106560. And how much interest on loan I should deduct?
175.
175 actual. Problem is not over, huh?
I think 22,800 आएगा ना 3,80,000 का 6%.
80 क्यों 3,30,000 हाँ उसका वैल्यू 3,80,000 3,80,000
अभी जब बिजनेस हेड सीखोगे ना तब तो ऐसे लड़ते रह जाओगे पूरा टाइम, नहीं ऐड है, नो इट्स ऐड, नो इट्स लेस, नो इट्स दिस, and then when you learn clearly, and this is building up your confidence. I can see you all right now ki this is CMA final, CA final class, your base building is super. Acha, those who got 71 540, I want to know beta what mistake you did.
हाँ
71 540 कैसा है
अरे खुद की गलती मान लो यार, बोलो ना क्या गलती की, what went wrong?
2,000 ले लिया.
No, I want to hear this. Come ahead nearby to the mic and say what mistake you have done. Please don't take it otherwise. You all are my students, but I want to know कि 71 540 जिसने भी बोला आंसर उसने क्या कर, हाँ
3,30,000 की जगह 3,80,000 ले लिया म्यूनिसिपल वैल्यू.
380 क्या लिया?
म्यूनिसिपल वैल्यू.
अच्छा ठीक है, मजे करो. Okay, chalo. So we have completed with working note 1 if all the 3 houses are self-occupied. Now working note 2 if all the houses are let out. Even in study material, this is solved in pages. It's an 8-mark question. Now we are doing the conclusion. Options. Option 1. Let us now work out all the options.
Okay.
You can work out vertically or you can work out एक के बाद एक. हम ना एक के बाद एक करेंगे. House 1 SOP लेते हैं, House 2 SOP लेते हैं, House 3 DLOP. Are you all getting what I am doing? I'm going to copy the figures. You all also copy. If house 1 is self-occupied, what's the value? Nil. If house 2 is self-occupied, what's the value? 30,000 loss. If these two are self-occupied and third house is let out, third is 73,640. ये अगर let out है, so what will be the total income? Ma'am, in one house there is loss, in another house there's profit. Can we set off? Yes, yes, yes. Superb, you can. 43,640. 43,640. $43,640 प्लस माइनस करके. ऑप्शन 2 हाउस 1 SOP, हाउस 2 DLOP, हाउस 3 SOP. नाउ दिस इज सेल्फ ऑक्यूपाइड nil. हाउस 2 अगर डीम लेट आउट लेते हैं तो व्हाट्स द इनकम? 176,840. House 3, if I take as self-occupied, what's the income? 175 loss. Are you all with me? You are able to copy from your book. 176,840 income आ रही है और दूसरे हाउस में there is loss. So 1840. 1840. Income from house property. Option 2. Option 3. House 1 as DLOP. See, now combinations can change. Ma'am, what you did option 1 in exam, I worked this option 3. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता बेटा. Once you write the answer, it will be very. This one is a googly, third वाला. I want you to. इसको पहले ही 5 star खिला दो. इसको fasting करने की जरूरत नहीं. KitKat खिलाओ, सब खिलाओ. हाँ. What is house 1 income if it is DLOP? 219,800. What is house 2 if it is self-occupied? 30. House 3 if it is self-occupied? 175. Now I want all of you to write here note 2. Note 1 तो हमने कहीं ऊपर लिखा था ना, तो note 2. Note 2. House 2 plus house 3 both are self-occupied. अरे वहां तो हमको मेन आंसर लिखना है, सीधा note 2. House 1 plus house 3, house 2 plus house 3, both are self-occupied. Maximum interest will be allowed up to 2 lakh, whereas actually it's 30,000 plus 175, 2,05,000 interest NA, not allowed. I have written little brief है, आपको जैसे लिखना है लिखना एग्जाम में. Self-occupied properties you cannot own more than 2, and for 2 interest allowed cannot be 2,05,000. So you have to write this again, 219, and put together. There's some repairing work going on. I don't know. आपको ऐसे bang आवाज आ रहा है तो मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकती हूँ. चलो 21900 and then this मिला के 2 lakh. So how much is income? Please don't go to anything else unless option 3 is clear in your mind. Don't just copy. समझ में आया बेटा? H2 is 30, H3 is 175. But self-occupied properties together, you cannot exceed the interest 2 lakh. So how much I have allowed? 2 lakh. So 19,800. Now conclusion. Oh my God, we took 40 minutes to solve this problem. Conclusion. Option 1, what is the income? 43,640. Option 2, what is the income? 1840. Option D, 19,800. Please give your expert advice. Ruhi should go for which option?
You should go to option 2.
Option 2. Option 2 should be selected. Total income 1840 is lowest. Simple logic. Option 2 में total income सबसे कम है तो वो ले लो. How was the problem? Okay, chalo. I want to explain the flow. So come back again, put your pens down and listen. If there are two or three houses, ma'am, in exam, if they give 5 houses, any 2 SOP, rest all the 3 will be DLOP. But first you work out as if all the 3 are self-occupied. Allow interest. Ma'am, why didn't you allow 55,000 if it is self-occupied and it's taken interest on loan for repairs? It's only 30,000. Now, if it is let out, everything is very clear. I've just now explained. And now while working out the combinations, be careful. For 2 self-occupied property, interest on loan cannot exceed more than 2 lakhs. It's written in your flowchart also. Now take homework as we are closing in 2 minutes. आप homework लेके जाओ. एक तो आपको क्या करना है? Problem number 1 and 2 I did. 3, 4, 5 are homework. बहुत सारे same problem दिए हैं for speed. Homework. Exactly same. She's having 3 bungalows. One at Bangalore, Pune, Nagpur. All the houses are the self-occupied. So you take it carefully. पहले DLOP work करो, फिर LOP work करो, and then go for the combination. Same way. Mahesh has 3 flats. All the 3 flats, one occupied by him and another occupied by his parents and children. But parents and children are staying in separate house, but rent तो नहीं आ रहा है ना. You are owner of the house and all the three are self-occupied. One you are staying, one you have given to your children to stay, but you are the owner. Huh? And children are not paying any rent. Fair rent or municipal value, whichever is higher, that or standard rent, whichever is higher. तो इसका GAV होगा 30,000, है ना? ऐसे करना है. So now, loan is taken in 2010, 12,000 interest is allowed. Loan is taken in 1499. If loan is taken 1499, then if it is self-occupied, how much interest will be allowed? 30,000. Ma'am, it's not repairs, no. But if the loan is taken before 1499, interest allowed is 30,000 and not 2 lakh. Huh. But if it is DLOP, deem let out, pura 60,000 interest allowed. Okay? It's very easy. I took so much of time because I gave you time to do on your own. हमने class में ही practice किया. So you can work out in the same column. पहले take all the three as DLOP, then take all as SOP, and then continue. And work out the option and continue. Be very honest with me. If this is not clear till tomorrow, you read the first 2 pages. You read all the booster notes, red color, what I made you write. And you do these questions. If you feel, ma'am, we want more booster notes. Interest on loan, I didn't give you booster note because I have already printed flowchart. But if you feel, no, पूरे booster notes मेरे को notebook में चाहिए, flowchart को red color में notebook में करो. It will help you. And write whatever way detail you want in table form and flowchart. Okay? Right? If you are perfect with this, you will understand the advanced question tomorrow, wherein one property only, it's all twist and turns. Okay? 2 things from my side, I'll let you know. When is the timetable for tax rates, agricultural income, and residential status? Okay? Right. And hoping that you all have completed. Sunday is a holiday. दीप्ति मैम आपने ही बोला जो अच्छा लगे वो करना, सो जाना, पेंटिंग करना, गाना गाना, जो करना है करना. Very true. I also did one very nice musical program with my son. करना है. But with that, I don't know, whatever time suits you, either early morning or if you get up late, then okay, afternoon, mom, after lunch, give me 2 hours, 4 o'clock, we all will go out. But that 2 to 4 hour study material, backside questions, you have to do it now. And just don't do it right over there. Many times students ask me, Dipti ma'am, your class is very clear. Yeah. But then how do we क्लास तो आपका क्लियर है बट सेकेंड रिविजन कैसे करें तो मैं आपको बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज बता रही हूँ when you do your study material write down over there okay right what will you write down over there easy problem same as second one very nice with all the adjustment put some stick on over there so that now it's November month going on you are writing your exam in May 25 September second revision when you do along with my material study material if there are 10 problems 3 to 4 selected problems with the pink stick on you have to revise again if it's very easy very tricky you learn something better than what Dipti ma'am explained in the GAV part write it as a booster ठीक है तो मैं तो बहुत एफर्ट्स डाल रही हूँ कि आप सबको एग्जामिशन लाना है you all also put effort and I want messages back in the group where you are connected ma'am my study material done for chapter 1 my study material done for residential status you know when you put your message ma'am क्या ही फर्क पड़ जाएगा there are so many students in the group it will make a difference when you right now you automatically become committed to your teacher and you outperform. So see you all tomorrow with all the homeworks in the notebook and promise the way you enjoyed today. You juggled and enjoyed. Don't see the answer for 4th and 5th and do it and then check it and we will continue the class tomorrow. Thank you so much all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you all tomorrow at 11. Bye all.